Apalachee, and Coach Richard Aspinwall, 39, also a math teacher and an assistant football coach. So I like to drop my kids off at school when I can. I can't always do it, days like today, I do have to leave my house pretty early to get here. But I like to drop them off when I get a chance to, and I like to pick them up. Because I always think to myself, there's going to come a day when I will miss this. And there's a comfort to that routine, right? I think for my kids as much as for me. I pull up to the school and I say, do you have your lunchbox? I say, you remember to charge your laptop last night, right? And I say, good luck on your science test. I say, have a good day. And then I hear them slam the door, and I watch them walk away. And that's part of parenting, especially parenting teenagers, right? You let your kids go. But you tell them you'll see them after school, and you tell them, I'll wait right here for you. And that's one of the best moments at the end of the day, isn't it? Getting them back and bringing them home. 4 families didn't get their loved ones back on September 4th. 4 families had their loved ones torn away from them because of an act of violence that began and ended in minutes. And here we are today at the Georgia State Capitol in this grand building where important conversations happen and big decisions get made. And here we are remembering them, thinking of Apalachee and those who are still here, and asking ourselves, how did this happen? What could we do better? How do we make sure something like this never happens again? So a little more than a week ago, we saw another back-to-school shooting, this time in Minneapolis, where a shooter opened fire during a Catholic school mass, injuring students and teachers and elderly congregants, killing 2 little kids who didn't even get the chance to graduate from elementary school. How does this keep happening? Where have we failed to do better? And how do we make sure something like this never happens again? These are big questions and crucial problems to work on, and hopefully the solutions we are brave enough to support together are worthy of this gold dome and its marble stairs and columns and the weight of the responsibilities they bear for this state. But today I think we owe it to the community to hear from those most affected and to really listen to what they have to tell us. So with that, I'd like to introduce Layla Contreras, a recent alumna of Apalachee High School whose sister Sasha was in class at the time of the shooting. Layla.
One year ago today, our world changed forever. In a county where we once said, nothing ever happens here, something happened that we will carry with us for the rest of our lives. The tragedy at Apalachee High School is not just a story in the news. It is our story. It is our friends, it is our teachers, it is our children, our family. We gather today not to relive the nightmare, but to honor the lives of Mason, Christian, Cristina, and Richard. Their names matter, their stories matter, and the way we move forward will determine how their memory is carried into the future. This past year has been heavy. Grief has no rule book. For some, it has meant quiet reflection. For others, it has meant speaking loudly, demanding action, refusing to let silence be the final word. Both are valid. Both are necessary, because grief doesn't look the same for everyone, but the love that binds us together is the same. To the students, I see you. I hear you. I know that some of you are scared and some of you are angry, but I want you to know you are strong. You are resilient. You are leaders, whether you realize it or not. Your voice matters, and when you use it, this world shifts. Do not let anyone tell you that you are too young to make a difference. You are the reason I stand here today, and you are the reason we fight for safer schools and stronger communities. To the teachers, you have carried a burden no teacher should ever have to bear. You have taught through fear, through heartbreak, through unimaginable loss, and still you show up. Still, you give your students the chance to dream of brighter futures. We honor you. We'd fight for you too. To the parents, I know the weight you carry. I know the fear that comes with sending your child out the door in the morning. I know the heartbreak that lingers every single day. You should never have to bear this pain, but you are not alone. We stand with you. And to our leaders, accountability matters. Our students, our teachers, and our families deserve actions, not excuses. This community deserves more than just words. It deserves the courage of leaders who will do what's right even when it's hard. I graduated from Apalachee in 2019. This is my home, this is my family, and I will never stop fighting to protect it. 1 year later, we are not the same. We are stronger, we are louder, and we are more determined than ever. Because while we cannot change the past, we can shape the future, and I believe that future can be safer, kinder, and brighter if we keep going. So today, we remember, today we honor, and today we recommit ourselves to the fight. For Mason, for Christian, for Cristina, for Richard, for every student, for every teacher, for every family, for this community we call home. We will not forget, we will not stop, and together we will keep moving forward. Thank you.
Next, we're going to hear from Victoria Cadavid, Apalachee High School class of 2024.
Oops. Good morning. My name is Victoria Cadavid, proud alumna of Apalachee High School class of 2024. Just a few months before the shooting, Apalachee was my home for 4 years. Throughout my time there, I was a member of both the volleyball team and the marching band. Within school walls, there was always a sense of community, especially within the band program. On September 4th, I received the news of the shooting around 10 in the morning when a friend texted me saying that the school was on a hard lockdown. I was forced to realize the threat was real when I saw the media coverage of police from Winder, Barrow, and its surrounding counties racing to the school. You would not think a school shooting could happen in your town, in your school, until it does. As heartbreaking as it is to say, Apalachee is now one more name on a list of schools no community ever wishes to see itself on, a list that keeps growing with every passing year. We lost 4 beautiful souls that day, 9 others were physically injured, countless more are emotionally scarred. September 4th is a day that will continue to affect Apalachee High School students, Barrow County residents, and our neighboring areas as we learn to move forward in this new normal. We will not forget the names of Mason Schermerhorn, Christian Angulo, Cristina Irimie, and Richard Aspinwall. Current students, friends of mine, expressed their fear of another tragedy occurring, and frankly, their fear is understandable because they have gone through something that no matter how much we practice it, is something that will forever leave them traumatized. They cannot hear fireworks going off without being reminded of that day. They cannot be in crowded areas without fear of someone attempting something, and they are no longer children. Our community has shown much love and support of the grieving families and for the students and faculty of Apalachee in a way that has not been seen before. The community has opened their arms up even more to show the true strength of our once small community. Even now, wherever you go within the county limits, there are signs. Barrow County strong, Apalachee strong. Sheriff Judge Smith's words of love will prevail, and we stand with Chi. We're still healing from the aftermath, but one thing is for certain, we are Chi Nation.
Now we're going to hear from Kira Lynn McConatha, Apalachee High School class of 2025, who was in class during the shooting on September 4th.
Good morning. I want to thank you all for having me here and giving me the opportunity to share my story and speak to you all today. My name is Kira McConatha, and 1 year ago today, during my senior year of high school, the year of highs and excitement, me and thousands of others at Apalachee High School endured the unimaginable. On September 4th, 2024, my loving, quiet community was rocked to its core. That morning, I was in my statistical reasoning class. I went into class that morning like normal. We were working on a study guide for a test that we would have took the following day. Around 10:20 a.m., we heard the first round of gunfire. I jumped over a desk and ran to the other side of the classroom like we were always taught to do. I texted my loved ones while crying, trying to keep the noise of my cries muffled just in case the shooter could hear them. I sent my family my goodbyes, let them know what was going on, because I did not know if I was going to make it out alive or make it out at all. I was sitting next to my teacher, Coach Rushing, and asked him if we were going to die. He responded, "I don't know, but I got y'all." The minutes we sat there in the dark, hot, compacted classroom felt like hours waiting for someone to come in and rescue us. I have never been put into such a tragic, traumatizing, evil situation. We all can agree in this room that we need to protect our children. No child deserves to have the fear of having to go to school. No child deserves to experience what we have experienced. It's not fair. This has followed me from high school and into college. I am very aware of my surroundings, whether it is seeing how the doors do not lock at college campuses, asking my professor if we do drills, and then being told that no, if it is going on, it is a real situation. I may be an Apalachee alumni, but I will still fight for the future of the kids of the Barrow County school system and in the state of Georgia, due to my two youngest siblings still being students in the school system. Today, our community will remember the four we lost to such a senseless act of gun violence. Cristina, Irimie, Coach Richard Aspinwall, Mason, and Christian did not deserve this. And now we must honor them by being kind to one another, supporting one another, and hoping for a better and safer tomorrow. I will continue to use my voice for those that do not feel comfortable speaking on our shared experience for the sake of the students and teachers all over the world. Now until forever, we will be Barrow County and Apalachee strong. Love did prevail, and love will continue to prevail. Thank you.
Next, we'll hear from Sasha Contreras, a current senior at Apalachee High School, who was in class during the shooting on September 4th.
Good morning. My name is Sasha Contreras, and I'm a senior at Apalachee High School. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak. 1 year ago today, my friends, my teachers, and myself lived through a tragedy that still affects us. My memories of that day are blurry, but I clearly remember the morning before everything happened and the afternoon that followed. I was in Mrs. Irimie's class just an hour before she was killed. That day, she helped us with our lesson and talked to us more than usual. I left feeling happy to have seen a new side of her, not knowing it would be the last time. After first period, I was in Spanish class when we suddenly went into hard lockdown. Thinking it was a drill, we acted accordingly. Our teacher told us it was just practice to keep us calm, but through whispers and Apple Watch alerts, we realized it was real. I panicked since our phones were kept in our backpacks across the room. A classmate of mine let me use hers so I could text my mom, who was also in the building, and my sister, who was working from home. As we evacuated, I grabbed my phone and left with my class, grateful we were near an exit. On the way to the field, I remember the sinking feeling of our reality. I started crying in desperation to find my mother while being held up by two other students. After reuniting with my mom, the rest of the day became a blur. I just remember the surreal moment of learning that Mrs. Irimie was one of the victims who didn't make it. Upon our return and the following months throughout the school year, my motivation and will to be on campus diminished. After September 4th, 2024, our community was never the same. However, in that change, we had newfound community and made new lifelong bonds. Our advocacy this past year allowed us to connect to hundreds of people in this fight for a better tomorrow for the students and teachers of Georgia. We hope to continue empowering students and teachers across the state. On my first day of senior year in the beginning of August, it only felt like a long weekend away and a continuation of my junior year. The last few weeks have been difficult. Even now, my motivation and ambition haven't been the same. Despite that, I know that my peers and I are excited to make a positive impact on our community this year. So far, many of our clubs have had amazing turnouts and with eager students, which shows that despite all our hardship, we are ready to be involved with the community. To this day, my classmates and friends put effort to lift ourselves up and push forward together. To this day, we are hyper aware of our surroundings. To this day, we hear about similar tragedies. So today, we remember those we lost and honor them. We make sure that Cristina Irimie, Richard Aspinwall, Mason Schermerhorn, and Christian Angulo are not forgotten. Our community was forever changed, but love has and will prevail. Thank you.
And finally, we'll hear from Leader Carolyn Hughley, leader of the Georgia House Democratic Caucus.
Good morning. Today marks 1 year since our state was forever changed by the heartbreaking tragedy at Apalachee. I want to start by saying that I'm thankful. A big thank you to all the survivors and to the parents who are here today. And I want you to know that today is not about politics, because today we remember the students, we remember the teachers, and we remember the families whose lives were torn apart on that devastating day. We grieve with those who lost loved ones, and we hold close to those who continue to carry the invisible wounds of trauma and loss. As a mother and grandmother, I cannot imagine the pain of sending a child to school and never seeing that child come home again. As you know, my goal as a grandmother is to be the first in line in the pickup line. That's what I want to do. When I leave this Capitol, that's my goal, to be the first in the pickup line for my grandson and my granddaughter, because I believe the classroom should be a place of safety and growth and not fear. Our children deserve better, and we owe it to them to do everything in our power to make sure that tragedies like this never happen again. I stand here as a legislator, but I also stand here as a grandmother and a gun owner. I know firsthand the responsibility that comes with that right, and I believe deeply that we can protect the Second Amendment and we can protect second graders at the same time. This is not a choice between respecting our constitutional rights and keeping our children safe. We must and we can do both. Anniversaries like this are never easy. They remind us of lives that were cut short far too soon. They remind us of futures that should have been filled with promise and joy. But they are also moments to come together, to honor the memory of those victims, to support the survivors, and to renew our shared commitment to building a safer Georgia for all of our children. The pain will never fully fade, but neither will the love that we hold for those that have been lost. May their memory guide us toward compassion and courage and action. And on behalf of the Georgia House Democratic Caucus, we stand ready to act. Thank you.
All right, and now we have some time to open up to any questions anyone might have for anyone who's here. Doug? Hey.
You guys have tried a number of times in the past to get safe storage laws, tax credit for safe emergencies done. I assume you'll try again this year. What do you think will be different?
So before I answer that question, I just want to say I'm speaking on behalf of me as a representative and of the House Democratic Caucus, and not on behalf of any of the students or the school. Okay, so just to delineate that. You're right that we've tried to pass a safe storage law and several different workarounds with that priority for several years. And I've been asked in the past, every time it doesn't pass, so what are you going to change about the bill to help it pass this time? And my answer is basically the same. You can read the bill this year. It's HB 1. This is really easy to remember. It's a pretty short bill. It's very straightforward. It simply requires that any gun that can be accessed by a minor be stored securely. Sometimes what has to change is not the bill itself, because good policy is good policy. Sometimes what has to change is the culture around the issue. And I think that's something of what we're starting to see a little bit here in the state of Georgia. I'm not naive to the fact that this is a very recalcitrant issue. It's very entrenched. It's viewed as a partisan issue for reasons that perplex me consistently. But I think that in hearing stories of students like this who've been affected by an improperly stored firearm, in which the shooter was just 14 years old, it is natural to ask, how could this happen? How could a 14-year-old get access to this weapon unsupervised? What is a basic thing, a concrete solution that we have to prevent this from happening again? These are questions that sometimes it takes a story close to home to help people get out of that sort of partisan entrenchment. And we have seen some movement on the issue in the past 2 years. I will note that a bill that provides up to a $300 tax credit for purchase of safe storage equipment passed nearly unanimously out of the State House twice, this past year and the year before that, right? It got a little bit hung up in the Senate, and I hope that our Senate colleagues pick it up when we get back in January. But that's probably something that wouldn't have happened 5-10 years ago, right? So I do think that the culture is changing, and even though we always look to see, did the bill pass or not as the end point, there are many, many things under the hood and under the surface that you can see that attitudes towards this issue, particularly with regards to safe storage, are evolving in this state. Thank you for that question. Yeah, Jeff.
Obviously, there have been some bruising debates in Barrow County over the last year over various policies.
Yes.
What else do you think still needs to happen?
I think this is a very delicate topic, but I think that we need a concerted effort for both recognizing that gun safety and that mental health they go hand in hand and they need to be prioritized. I also think that it's important for, all schools to have school resource officers as well. They were so important that day. Our law enforcement and our emergency response was so important. So I think it's important for other communities to listen to Barrow County and see what we were able to do. And I think parents just need to be engaged and invested in their children's schooling. I think that's something that we really don't focus on. And it's that parental responsibility to invest in their children. And no community has ever faulted for investing in their kids and in their future. Thank you.
Yes. Right, so thank you for that question. That was a bill that passed just this past session that restricts access to cell phones for kids up until the 8th grade. I think that high school is carved out, though individual schools, of course, can make their own rules, as they do now. I do think it's telling when we were debating this bill, and I think you're right that this bill is a balance between several different priorities, that when I was in my community talking to voters and my constituents, that usually, in fact, I would say even almost always, the first type of objection I would hear to the fact of this bill was, what if there's a school shooting? That was almost always the response I got, despite the fact that most parents do acknowledge the value of restricting access to cell phones during classroom instruction. Like that makes sense, right? But that fear is so pervasive and it's so reflexive that I think it tells us something about what we expect in our society and our schools, and that a lot of us feel, whether we voice this or not, that when it comes to violence in schools and school shootings in particular, even though it is by far one of the rarest types of gun violence, that many people feel it's not a matter of if it happens in my school, but when, right? So, in terms of that law, it just really started in July, and school just got back at the beginning of August. So we'll see how that works out, and I'm sure there will be refinements, and individual schools will tinker with their own individual rules. But I think the fact that you ask it and the fact that so many parents think about it tells us what a pervasive problem this is. Any other questions? I don't know, I'm stepping away. Any other questions? So what we'll do is we will wrap up this portion of the press conference. If some of the invited speakers would like to be available for the press, they'll be here, but not everyone has to. You don't have to do it if you don't want to, right? But we'll be around here if anyone wants to ask any more questions. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you. Yes,
I was typing, yes. We did it in order from oldest to youngest.
Okay. And are you in college, right?
Yes.
And I'll have the microphone. We'll just conversate like this.
I got you. I did yearbook. I know the process.
Okay. First, could you spell your first and last name for me?
Victoria Cadavid. It's Victoria, and then Cadavid.
So we're talking about a little bit about gun reform and how there have been some things proposed, but they don't seem to be passing. Tell me the emotion that brings you. Are you infuriated? Are you not surprised?
Kind of both, just because, as Representative Al said, it's the culture of where we live. Yes, obviously, I was not at the school. I wasn't present when it happened, but again, as I said, it was my home for 4 years. So to find out that friends of mine, that people that I know, that I'm close with, had to survive something like that, it's infuriating, because you want change, you want something to happen, you want more safe control, like more safe storage, you want more of that to happen. Even worse to find out it was a freshly 14-year-old, a new freshman, someone who hasn't even attended the school for too long. That was infuriating. Obviously, again, like I said, it's the culture where we live, so I do understand that some things aren't going to be passed as fast as we would like them to. We still have schools in the past, like other schools that have suffered the same tragedy, that are still fighting. We have Sandy Hook, Parkland, they're all also trying to fight for the same thing in their respective states. we are as well, because this was the deadliest shooting in Georgia history, the deadliest school shooting. It's upsetting to say that. I'm literally getting chills right now. It's upsetting to say that, because how come my home for 4 years, how come the place that I graduated from for 4 years has that name to it now?
Wow. Has this impacted you as far as trust issues of your own community and what could happen anywhere, wherever you are?
Yes. Like Sasha said, the students are more hyper aware. I think as a community, we're all more hyper aware. Like, you don't know who somebody could be, and you don't know what they might have, and you don't know if you could go to like a grocery store and there not be a conflict happen, or you could go to a parking lot or to a county fair or something, you know what I mean? So it's infuriating. It's like, you know what I mean?
Last question. So I know you weren't there, but like you said, your community for 4 years. Can you speak on just how you were impacted as far as you never think that this would happen in your community at a school you attended? Kind of just to give insight for others who are oh, it won't happen here. I'm sure that was just shocking to even find out.
I remember in my 6th grade year, I was at Heyman Morris Middle School. So Apalachee and Heyman Morris and Yargo Elementary are all in the same cluster. They're all right next to each other. Parkland happened, and I remember that Heyman Morris, the middle schoolers, had an option to do a walkout. I participated in that walkout, and I remember thinking in my head very clearly, I'm glad this would never happen here. Fast forward to 2024, and it happens. And it's a shock. It's like a shock wave. I got the message at 10:20 in the morning saying, hey, we're on a hard lockdown. What do you mean you're on a hard lockdown? What are you talking about? My public's group chat, our work group chat, somebody said something about a school shooting. I did not want to believe it. I didn't want to believe it. And then we saw news, we saw police flying, Georgia State Patrol, GBI, FBI, all of that. And it was like a surreal moment, because what do you mean that my home was just part of something, of an ever-growing list, and something that shouldn't be happening?
Yes, ma'am. Appreciate it.